Hey preschoolers. My Curious George story today is called Curious George at the Parade. Have you ever been to a parade before? Maybe at the fair or some other big event. Parades are kind of fun. And it looks like Curious George is going to see a lot of fun things at his parade. Well, this is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were in the city for the big holiday parade. Oh, they found a place in the crowd, but an announcement had just been made. The parade may not start for a while, George, the man said. The wind is too strong for the big balloons. Let's go in this department store while we wait. George and his friend looked around the store as they waited for the wind to settle down. Suddenly, something strange caught George's eye. What could it be? He was curious, of course. But when George looked out the window, he didn't see anything strange. He saw the parade. He saw floats, clowns, and jugglers, and a band standing in straight rows. Then George thought he saw an elephant eating a treat. Oh, there's an elephant. That made George hungry. It had been a long time since breakfast. Now he could think only of finding a snack. Why, here was a treat just like what he ate in the jungle. Fresh coconuts right off the tree. George was lucky to be a monkey. He simply climbed out the window and jumped into the tree. Then he pulled and pulled, but the coconuts would not come off the tree. They were not so fresh after all. George did not know that. He pulled harder and harder. The tree began to sway. Oh my goodness! Suddenly there was a loud snap, then crash. Down came the tree, down came George, and down came all the coconuts. Luckily, George was not hurt, but still he did not have a snack. He raced after the coconuts. He chased them around the elephants and under the clown, then in and out of the band's straight rows. My perfect rose, the band leader cried. You've ruined my perfect rose. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that band's looking a little crazy. The band leader raced after George. He chased him down the street and around the corner, but he was not quick enough. Where was George? Soon the band leader tired of searching and went back to straighten his rows. He did not know where the little monkey had gone. George was nowhere to be found. George went up high. George was not sure where he had gone either. And the coconuts were nowhere to be found. After all that, George had lost his snack. After all that, George had lost his way. Now, how would he get back to the department store and back to the man with the yellow hat? Just then, a bus was stopping at the corner. George liked to ride the bus. Maybe it could take him back to his friend. Quickly, he hopped on the bus, and away they went. From his seat up on top, George could see everything. The bus rounded a corner. Here was something familiar. But something was wrong. 2 balloons had drifted off course. Their ropes were tangled. The parade helpers were trying to fix them, and a crowd gathered to watch. As the bus came to a stop, someone yelled, "Catch that monkey! He's ruined our parade!" It was the band leader, and he was pointing right at George. George did not want to be caught, but there was no way for him to get down. There was only one way to go. George grabbed a rope and went up. Up he climbed, higher and higher. He was a little frightened, but he held on tight. Then he heard someone call, "George!" It was the man with the yellow hat. George was happy to find his friend. The man was happy too. George swung from one rope to another. Now he felt like he was in the jungle, swinging from vine to vine. "Look," someone shouted from below. "The little monkey is fixing the balloons." Then George swung safely into the arms of the man with the yellow hat. The crowd below cheered. The ropes were no longer tangled. When George and his friend arrived back on the sidewalk, it was time to start the parade. The band leader was no longer angry. George was a hero. Even the mayor came to meet George. "I hear you created quite a stir, George," he said. but at last everything is in order. Would you like to ride with me in the parade? Hey, George gets to be part of it. Soon the balloons started moving, the music started playing, and the band marched down the street in straight rows. And there, leading the whole parade, was Curious George. The end. Do you know what? Sometimes George starts problems, but he always helps fix them in the end. So that's a good thing to remember. Sometimes things happen, we make mistakes, we make a mess, but we can always help fix it and make things right. All right, tomorrow we're going to have our last Curious George story, so tune in tomorrow.